All right, so sorry, number one, I'm filming on portrait mode, not landscape. I know, I'm a dick. I apologize, did the best I could, but I looked everywhere on YouTube for videos to rebuild the steering box on an old Ford without taking it out, right? I got a 70 F100, two-wheel drive, long bed, and power steering pump was good, but it was pissing power steering fluid out of the seals on the bottom of it, right? I saw an old Bronco, I saw some Dodges, nothing for an old Ford, especially a Ranger, but every part for the whole steering box is back ordered, and I wanted to avoid tightening and loosening, taking apart old parts that I didn't need to mess with, right? So a couple tools you'll need. It's done now and it works. Doesn't leak anymore. Where I started was I went under and I took apart the pitman arm, okay? So I started with a 1 3/8 bolt. That takes that off. I didn't disassemble the rack. I didn't touch anything up in the engine bay. All I did was loosen the bottom. This is a 3/4 inch drive, so I had a nice ratchet for it. If you can find it with a 1/2 inch drive, that'll work. You'll probably need a breaker bar though. But I wouldn't start without it. After I took that out, I separated it with a separator. Harbor Freight, like 10-15 bucks. It'll save you a lot of time. Or Harbor Freight fork. Once you pull that out, you'll see that I needed to get all of the seals out in order to replace them. Now, normally you could take the entire steering box out from the bay, and then you can pull it apart, punch them out with a screwdriver or a flathead, but I didn't want to do any of that. So what I did was, to save money, I used 5W20, whatever oil I had, because there was nothing left in the steering system. I poured it in the funnel into my filler, which is in the power steering pump on this truck. And then I started the truck and I had my wife turn it all the way to the left to build up pressure, push all the seals out. Before you do that, put your nut back on, this nut, the 1 3/8 that you took off, and loosened it, take the washer off, take the nut back up, so it catches. You're gonna catch, it's like a plastic sort of washer, which I think is what failed. But obviously you need to take the snap ring off first. Snap ring off, then turn it to the left, pop your washer, 2 seals, then your final washer, which is steel. Once that's off, you take your nut off, you take everything out, and you're gonna need to put it back in. Now, some guys have like a deep socket that 1 3/8 would be great, but I'm not one of those guys. So what I used was a 1/4 inch punch, right? Now, what would be useful is if you can't get your snap ring off. In my case, I couldn't, because that last washer was so warped from 50 years of wear. I punched it on both of the tabs, and then I used my pliers, right, for the spring clip. Now it'll help you get them out, and it'll help you get the new one back in. Pulled them out, dropped them out, the seals, and I went to put the new ones in. One at a time, I put the new one in, and slowly worked my way around it, punching it back up, put the washer back up. The order for the rebuild kit was different than the order that it came out. It's up to you how you want to follow it. Mine worked, and I followed the instructions on the rebuild kit. Punch it around, work it up, one after the other. 4 pieces. After the last washer was a pain in the ass. You get that past your spring clip. Once that's in, you're going to use your pliers to get your spring clip to hold that last washer in. It's pretty straightforward. You take the old ones out, put the new ones in, take your time getting them in. Then you reassemble your pitman arm back on, lock washer, nut. And then somebody said something about 180 pounds of spec. You know, I drive it on the weekends, I drive it hunting. I don't take long trips on it. I'm not trying to rebuild the entire steering system. I'm just trying to get it to run without leaking. And so I did it as tight as I could do it. with the 3/4 inch drive, and it worked. It's not leaking. Sorry for recording on portrait mode. I'm sorry for the shaky video, but I did the best I could, and you're gonna see power steering splash all over me and all over my camera. So have fun. Hope it helps. All right, so here's the thing. I got a 1970 Ford Ranger, 2-wheel drive, and when I'm driving down the road, power steering stops working and a strong stream of power steering fluid comes out, leaving a trail that Hansel and Gretel could find home. So after figuring out that the new power steering gearbox is $900 from the auto parts store, and one online is like $400 or $500, and LMC is sold out and back ordered, I figured you could buy a set of seals and rebuild it, pull it out and rebuild it. Well, I heard you could do it without taking it out of the truck. So here's my story. Haven't found it online with clear instructions besides an old Bronco or a newer Ford, but I got kind of far. You look under here, you got your pivot arm, right? Bottom of your gearbox. A little tight to get in, but this is what happens, right? This is mounted up. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. With it all together, it's on here with a lock washer and a nut, okay? That lock washer and a nut is right here. Now, I don't have any impact sockets that fit that size, so I got a 3/4 inch drive with a 1 5/16 nut. Takes it off pretty easy. Not with much strain at all. Didn't even need a breaker bar, but you know, that's what happens when you got big nuts. Once I freed that out, it really wasn't too hard to pop and break the seal with my puller. Get these at Harbor Freight. I think I paid like 11 bucks, which is awesome. And from there, I just use an impact. Once I put it on sideways like this, to get your clearance, I used a 19, let me see. I used a 19 millimeter impact socket on the drive here, and literally just nice and easy, zipped it, a couple trigger pulls, and it separated. Next, I heard if you put some fluid in, which I'll use 5W30, start the truck, turn the wheel. After you take the snap rings off, you have to take the snap ring off first, your 2 seals and your 2 washers should fall out, in which I'm going to try to put the new ones back in with a flathead or a socket if I can fit it over. Alright, so trouble I'm having is if you look really close, snap ring here, I can't get it out. That thing's in there tighter than Willy Wonka's butthole when it's being zoned for code clearance. And no matter what I do, snap ring ain't fixing it. So I got some adapters. See if that'll fix it. Alright, so snap ring worked. Alright, well, took some playing around. Mama would have said I was playing with it because I played with it so much, but I finally got it out. So what I'm going to do here is pour a little bit more oil, power steering, in the power steering reservoir. I'm going to put this nut on the shaft here so that when it does come out, they'll be caught in the correct order so I can replace the new ones in the same order. Makes sense, right? Hopefully. Wish me luck. Also want to mention, remember the turns you take on your steering wheel so that you can center it once you put it back together. Go! Stop! Go back the other way. Thank you. Okay, so as you saw, my beautiful wife engaged the power steering, dropped out the washers and the seals after I got the snap ring out. In order to get the snap ring out, I took a 1/4-inch drive, a punch, 1/4-inch punch, and hammered the snap ring until it would move freely. Just tapping on it with a mallet. Then I pulled it out, then dropped the seals and the washers out. And then to put the new one in, I didn't have a press, so I just put the first seal in gently, worked my way around, crisscrossing, put the washer on, did the same, second seal, then the final washer. And the snap ring went on really easily. Now I'm gonna put it back together. All right, go back. All right, straighten out. That's not straight. To the right more. That's straight. Okay, that's good.